Hey everyone, Wicked Jutto here. Welcome to a new series that I'm trying out called Build My Bases. The builder name is Jutto and the outpost name is Eli. I'll have those details in the description. The idea with this new series is we're going to learn how to build deadly combo traps. We're building each from scratch so that you can try these yourself. I will also have this base on social in case you want to see it in game. So let's just get straight into it. So I've just got an empty plot here. I've just filled in some of the spaces here just to make it easier to kind of build on top of. So we'll first start off with what is termed, or at least what the community is terming, the JNL. So let's start with that. So the idea with this one is it's not necessarily there to kill the raider, but it's more about just putting constant pressure on so that you can't really just ignore it, but you don't also want to engage with it, if that makes sense. It'll start to make a bit more sense as we build it, but we're just kind of starting to build out the bottom or the base of the trap here. And what I like to do is actually have a little space here, just so that if people are using the demo cannon or even just grenades can be annoying as well. It doesn't just blow up the flame trap. So we'll start with just empty cubes. It sounds strange right now, but don't worry, it will make sense shortly. Okay, and then we start off. We keep going with the corrosive cube. So just 3 like that in a row. Next, we want to make one of them harden. This is really important. You can do it without harden, by the way, but I think it just makes the trap even more deadly. If you saw the latest uploaded video, we kind of showcased a duo that ran into this exact trap, basically. So we're kind of just building this exact trap. And then we kind of just fill these in. You can probably fill this in as well, although it's not really required, but you know, I think as long as these two are empty, this cube here doesn't matter. So I think you can just fill that in. Okay, so far so good. So this kind of just will just be empty here. So it just means like grenades can drop in, land here, and they're not going to explode our flame trap, which we'll put in right now. So let's bring that up. Yeah, so that's our incinerator. Now, important mods for the incinerator. We want to have the extend mod. This is like vital. You can do napalm. Napalm only works if you've got like, say, a wall here that it can hit. So, but definitely do the extend mod, because 3 of these cubes here means that your raider's not going to actually activate it within these 3 cubes. They're kind of here to just they do nothing. So by default, if you've only got like a 1 kind of path here, so imagine I'm the raider and I'm just walking past, you wouldn't need that extend mod. But if you're kind of coming in from this way, you want it to kind of engage as far away as possible. So hitting this 5th tile here is probably ideal. Okay, so we've got the extend. I won't put napalm just because I just, for this particular setup that I'm trying to do, it won't really help. But yeah, so just imagine like we've just got an entrance coming in through here, and then we kind of go out this way. What you can do, and I won't demonstrate this because it's basically a mirror of the same thing, but you could do another flame trap, and then you've got the flame there. So you can just mirror this like this way and this way, and then it creates like kind of a choke or a corner choke. The idea here is like you don't want to. There is a weakness to this trap in that, like, if you hug the sides, you can actually dodge the flames. So there is a way to like cross these together and make even more pressure. But again, it's optional. Like you can just leave it at the one. You can cross them. You can like kind of offset them a bit, right? So you could do something like this, whereby you have to pass. Sorry, you have to pass this tile here. So it means that you're kind of forcing the raider to cross here before you can get to this tile. So lots of ways to kind of combo this together with two of them, but again, for just this build, just imagine you've got two of them and leave it at that. So okay, so let's keep going. So we're just building up the sides here. So, and then you can see we've got this wedge or slant block, half block, I guess. And we want to crisscross them. So it starts to form this triangle. And then lastly, we're going to pick if we did this again, it's going to actually collide with the flames. So what we need to do is switch to a corner block or a quarter block. And the important thing is you want to make sure that crisscross actually kind of hits the next half block. So if I place it down, it'll start to make more sense. And if we fly in there, you can see like it forms this little V. That's what you want, is a V here, and more importantly, the most important one is a V here, because that will be the one that stops raiders from getting out, especially with this being hardened. Without this hardened, raiders can kind of grapple out, and if they're quick enough, they can kind of jump out of the corrosive. And because this isn't hardened, you can kind of cheese your way out. But with it being hardened, you can't do that. You can't like try to zip line through it. It just won't work. So you kind of stuck. Like once you commit into grabbing your bolt here, you can't get out. Okay, so far so good. The next step is basically the whole idea of this trap is to eat bolts. Like once raiders discover that if I shoot, like with a heavy boulder, if I shoot this trap, I'm not getting it back, right? We don't want raiders to get their bolts back. It's an ammo trap, right? So one of the most important things you want to do is you want to stop those raiders from getting those bolts from the outside. So what I like to do is I start building a 3x3 square, just around, like, I don't know if I can show you this. So we want to do a 3x3 cube around this this center of the flame trap. Just put that corner cube there. And then what we want to do, it does sound excessive, and you could argue it is, but we want to do a cube on top, like that. We want to do a cube around the side, right? So it's all 3x3s, right? And then again on this side, oops. Alright, and then the important thing is you want to fill this one in, you want to fill this one in, and then you should be good. I think for this one, let's think. I mean, we can just do that, right? I'm probably filling in more than what you would need to, because normally you would have like this kind of walled up, and you know, you're not going to see all of that, but this is basically the layout, right? So let's kind of I'll just kind of make a ramp. Not that we need to, but just to help raiders go in. We'll just go into test mode. Alright, so yeah, so here you can see it should engage like from this block, and it'll kind of, if you can see that, it kind of shoots like a little tiny flame along the side. This is completely deadly, by the way. Like, a raider like engaging with this little tiny flame is instant death. So it's not to be like messed with. As I said earlier, there is a kind of a weakness to the trap. You can go along the sides, but for newer players, they're most likely not going to know that, and they'll just have to kind of rush straight past it. So another good thing about this trap is it creates instant pressure, because either the player like tries to shoot it with their heavy boulder, or they're kind of rushing past it, right? And you kind of rushing them into, say, like I don't know, a bomb trap, or like a set of bolts kind of shooting this way, or you know, basically you're forcing the raider to not be able to go backwards. So if we had like a bolt trap here, maybe a long distance bolt trap, right? Like maybe 9 squares out. This fire will keep firing for like 2 or 3 seconds. So it's not like they can just back and safely get away and dodge out of the way of the arrow trap. So lots of things you can combo this into. But anyway, so assume we had like a new player trying to grab their bolts, right? An experienced player knows you can't grab onto that, right? Interesting, it's dropping me there. That I think it's got something to do with this this harden cube, I'm guessing, is forcing that to drop. But anyway, so you can't, even with the extend mod, you can't grab your bolt from here. So basically the only way to do it is you have to go straight in. You've got your bolt. Now, like, it's really difficult for the player to get through this. Like, it is possible with enough jimmying, but like, I'd prefer not to even do this. Like, I've seen this so many times that it's just not any point to do it. So so that's kind of it. What I'll also demonstrate while this is here, say they shot it and then they go outside of the base and then they go to try and grab their bolt. Now, why we put these extra cubes in around the sides here is, if you can see this, you just can't grab that bolt at all. It's like completely sealed off. So no matter like kind of what kind of angle you want to try and do, like, it's completely sealed. Like, yes, it is an extra, what's it, 9 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 by 4, it's like 36. It's an extra 36 capacity, but it means like that ammo's gone, unless like they want to try and grab it and, you know, waste a, I don't have a Phoenix pod, but say I had a Phoenix pod, I'd have to grab in and then, you know, try and jimmy out and, you know, die and then resurrect, right? That you're trying to either pull their bolt or waste a hardware trying to, you know, get that bolt back. So that's kind of trap number 1. let's keep going. Oops, I didn't mean to actually exit out. Sorry guys. Alright, so Eli. Okay, so that is the JNL. Alright, so next up we have the incinerator piston combo. So let's see. This one's pretty straightforward, and I'm guessing a lot of you have already seen it. It's pretty common, but it is super effective. Like, I think every single one of my bases, or at least a high majority of bases, have this trap in it, and for good reason. It's just a really good trap. Okay, so sorry, I'm kind of jumping ahead. So we've got this little chamber. This entrance here, the reason why I kind of incline down is to do with the vision, and I'll kind of go through that in a second as I'm kind of doing the sides. Okay, and for this trap you can either go left or right. I'm choosing left, but you can always do it the other way. Like, it doesn't matter. So it kind of up to you, like which direction you want to lead the raider out. But yeah, so that's that. So, and then lastly we can just put a little half block there. And yeah, that's kind of it. So, so as you're kind of coming up to this, you can kind of see it here. What I like to do is kind of make the angle so that, like, you're not just like coming in one way, because like it's all about angles in this game. What makes a good base separate from an excellent or deadly base is all about angles. So as you can see here, I can see the flame trap way ahead of time, right? That's not good. We want to set it up in such a way that we just don't get that vision. So if I force the player, say this was like, you know, like this, and imagine there's a roof there, but here I don't get vision at all. Like, I get this little bit of vision, but it's not much to go with. And raiders aren't going to try and shoot that down, or I don't even know if the angle's even possible. Maybe with a demo cannon you can do this. And by the way, demo cannon is kind of a hard counter to this, but you know, you can't block every single weapon type in the game. Like, each weapon has like pros and cons, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so far so good. So for this flame to work, we definitely want range, and optionally you can consider napalm. Napalm is pretty good here, just in that it's gonna like light this cube up on fire. So it just kind of, depending on like what's behind this, it just stops the raider even longer from entering if they've like retreated back from this trap, right? To get out of the way of the flames. They're like either have to wait up here for an extra second or two until like these sticky flames dissipate. Okay, so let's just put napalm on. And then for pistons, it's really straightforward. You've got a few options here. Like, what I like to do is kind of look at, okay, so the raider's coming in this way, and then looking down, right? So I'd put the first piston here, because it may catch people off guard depending on the timing of the piston when they enter. It can just like crush them instantly, and then, you know, it's like game over, right? Without even having the flame trap be a problem. And then from here, like you could do it, you know, 1, 2, 3. I like to kind of rotate them a bit. Reason being is like if they're all in a row, in a straight row, raiders can just go bang, 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 bang. Like there's no like difficulty there. If you kind of switching it up, like one's on the ceiling, one's on the floor, one's on the left and right. Um, we could swap these. We could go here and here. Now, like raiders are having to like go. Okay, I have to shoot this one, then left, then down, then right, and then you got your flames there. So the idea of the pistons isn't necessarily to kill the raider. It's there to stop the raider or block the raider from continuing. Because what you want is these pistons getting in the way, and then this flame eventually triggering, and then you know hitting the raider as they're coming through. So that like they just don't have enough time to go shoot, 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 and then shoot the flames. Because like they'll try to shoot the flames and then a piston just comes out and blocks it. A lot of the time happens. So anyway, let's keep going. So the important mods for these pistons, you definitely want blockade. For every one of these, we want blockade. This first piston, definitely don't use self-destruct because that will blow up the rest of the pistons. So don't use that. But you can optionally for the first piston have a burning piston mod if you've got capacity. If you don't, you can optionally leave it out. Reason being is if raiders aren't expecting the piston to even be there, but the piston comes down, if they keep moving forward, they're gonna die from those burning sides. Next up, you want blockade always, but next you want unstable. What unstable does basically just changes the timing. It changes the timing of the pistons from each other. If you didn't have this unstable, they'd all extend all at once and then retract all at once, which isn't what you want, right? You want like one come in and then another one come in and then the first one retracts and then, you know, maybe the third one extends and then the second one retracts. You know, you just always want a piston blocking that vision of the incinerator at all times, right? Until like the raiders starts picking off the pistons one by one. Okay, so and then finally just same thing, blockade unstable. So that's kind of the setup. Now by its own, it's not that useful, right? Is like the reason why you'd want this setup in the first place is to stop speedrunners. That's a given. But two, more importantly, is a lot of my bases, if you haven't seen in the past, a lot of them have like this kind of massive choke point, which basically forces a lot of things happening all at once in one condensed space. And the way that works is you want to stop raiders in their tracks. So either they're dealing with a whole bunch of stuff that's going on like just before this trap, or force the raiders into this and then die to this. So it's really just putting that raider into this really tough situation where they can't stay here for whatever reason, and then the only option is to just keep going and then, you know, run into this incinerator. So that's kind of it for the incinerator piston combo. It's an excellent combo. It definitely gets kills. This J&L sometimes gets kills. It will catch like new players off guard, but the more experienced players will just kind of, you know, just scoot past it if they can. If they can't, like they'll normally find a way to, you know, get rid of it. Okay, so that's trap combo number 2. The last one I want to showcase today is what I like to call the blind bolt shot. Okay, so let's see if we can find space for it. I'll just kind of put a little entrance here, just for raiders. Okay, so let's start going with this one. So there's a few ways you can build this. We'll start with the simple way, and then we can kind of extend from there. So we'll start off with, let's see, just trying to think in my head how I want to do this. Yeah, let's just start with the simple one first, and then we'll build our way up. The important thing with this trap is you want like a little corridor, right? Like you don't want... this isn't good, because I'm going to run out of space. I wish like there was a way to like make these bedrocks disappear. Like, I don't know. They're more annoying than anything, but let's kind of start maybe back here. Okay, so I'm just like building up a floor here. Okay, so the important thing with this trap is you want a little corridor. The reason being, without this corridor, players are just gonna like trigger and then kind of, you know, if say it was just a one block, right? They might trigger and then go, all right, I'm just gonna duck around this corner and be safe, right? You want to use the full range of the Hunter Bolt mod, because otherwise it's a missed opportunity, right? Okay, so let's build up the corrosive. So you can do 4, you can do 5, and we can maybe test this like just in the test run. Let's try 5 and we'll see how far it kind of extends. I think 5 is a little excessive, but let's start with it anyway, and we can trim what we don't need later. Okay, so whichever length you do, this last block must have opaque applied. The reason for this opaque mod is you don't want raiders seeing into what's coming next. You just kind of want to keep them guessing. I'm just putting sides here. You want to limit the amount of vision a raider gets as much as you can. And then lastly, we want to count 2, and then we want to go up 2, and then we want to put a half block here. I think that's right. Okay, next we want to put a bolt trap down, and then for mods, you've got some options here. Like you definitely want Hunter. One option is you can do the Relentless. So Relentless just has a flurry effect to the bolt. So rather than shooting, I guess, what is it? 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 bolts. Rather than shooting 14 bolts at once, you kind of shoot one after the other. So that's one option you can do. I prefer just the regular type shot, and then put down the double down. The reason being is a lot of raiders kind of come in and go, oh shit, like there's a bolt trap, right? I'll back, and a lot of them think, oh, it's shot, right? So I'm safe, so I'll just come back out, and then get shot just out of like, you know, not expecting it, right? Okay, so that's that. I think this is the basic setup. Like from here, I like doing corridors, but really you can have this open if you want, or I don't know. Like, imagine this was like the through to the gen mat or whatever. So the the trick with this one is, or why this is so deadly, is basically how the bolt shot works, or any trap for that matter. Like, instead of bolts, you could do grenades if you really wanted to. Bolt traps, in my opinion, works the best. But definitely, I've used bases in, I think it was Macchia Sport. I had the same setup, but grenades instead, and that works great as well. So don't be afraid to experiment with these combos. Alright, so I think that's our basic setup. So let's go ahead and test it. Now, one important thing, as you're testing this stuff, like, you always double check things. So right now, I can actually see that bolt trap right here. So one thing I forgot to do, we actually want like a little block here, and that's purely there to just block vision. And we can just fill in the sides here. Okay, so now, like, if I'm looking up, I can't see anything of what's coming up. I only see this opaque block, and then if I go in further, I'll see this. Now, the reason I didn't do this is the way Hunter works is it will track the player even if they're not like visible by the trap itself. It will just keep tracking. I don't know why in the game this works, and it seems to only be the Boltshot that does this. Things like lasers will only track. Also, Sentinels does this as well. They only track to where the player was last seen. But with bolts, they just keep like tracking the player all the way until, you know, when they stop. So they're very devious. Like, again, I have no idea why the developers made them work that way, but I'm not complaining. All right, let's jump into test mode. Okay, so let's kind of showcase what this thing can do. So I'm kind of inching here, and like for more experienced players, they'll probably do this. But if we keep inching, see that? Like, what are you supposed to even do? Like, you can hear, like, your only cue to knowing something's about to happen is like you hear the bolt shot. You do not even see it at all, and this is why I call it the blind bolt shot. Is the player does not see the bolt shot at all until it engages. So, and it'll shoot a second time. So some players will kind of go, oh, this is gonna happen, I'll zip out, right? And then let's do a little testing. Let's test again. So for experienced players, they'll do this, right? Is they'll inch away. Oh shit! Grapple out of the way, right? But some players, like intermediate players, will go, okay, the danger's gone, it's shut down, right? And guess what? It's like shooting again. Like you just get caught off guard, and that's the primary, you know, the great thing about this trap is it just catches people off guard. Okay, so how can we make this trap even better? And really it comes down to capacity, right? Like this isn't a cheap-ish mod to kind of... I didn't really check to see how far back it tracks. I think normally 4 blocks should be fine. I'm just going to cut it to 4, but do your own testing. Don't take my word for it. the best thing to do is just test for yourselves, like what works for you, and then just use that. Okay, so already this trap is 20, 40, 60, 80, plus 50 is, you know, 130 plus mods. You know, it's not a cheap setup, but it works, right? Like it will get at least 1 kill for each raid. Like maybe not guaranteed, because like the more experienced players will probably not like see this mile away and, you know, just know to counter it. But for newer players, for sure it will get you at least 1 kill, for sure. Okay, so how can we make this even more deadly? Well, we can actually do the same thing but on the sides. So we can, let's see, so we can maybe do that, and then let's see, so we basically want to, if we do that, sorry, I normally just keep it to just this. I don't kind of go the extreme to this, but you can experiment with this stuff and see what works for you. Okay, let's just start with one side, and you can obviously duplicate it to the other side. Same setup. Okay, so we got our bolt, and then we'll apply Hunter. You can choose not to double down. Like I think at least have one of them double down. But hey, if you got the capacity, why not, right? And I'm just gonna disable this one. Well, let's just disable this one just as we're testing. What I like to do when I'm testing these types of traps and combos, try to just test one thing at a time in isolation. Because if you've got too many traps going on off at once, you don't get the real testing, the fine detail of testing things in isolation, and you just don't have that full potential of that one trap. So when you're comfortable one of the traps are working, just disable it. You can put a block in front of it, or, you know, just do what you can to just stop it from interfering with testing other traps in the same vicinity. And then, yeah, so again, I'll just kind of inch. I'll just inch here. And it should, yeah, so again, you just don't see it, right? That's the real pain point. Okay, so far so good. Is it just engages, like, without you even seeing it. Okay, so now let's put them together. This is where the power of these two comes into play. So we're gonna put Hunter and we'll put double. And again, you can imagine this having it on this side as well. If you want, maybe you just want one side, that works too, but just know you can customize this however you want. And it really depends on how much capacity you want to sink into one of these combos, but it's up to you. Okay, so the power is this. I activate the first one, I get out of the way. You know, you can either grapple or just walk back. It's like, oh, I'm good. No, I'm not. I'll just do this again. And you go, oh, okay, I got through the hard trap, so we should be good. But then, that wasn't a good representation. It depends, like, if you're fighting inch players or you're fighting speedrunners. You can't kind of counter both, and some trap combos works for speedrunners and some work for inch players. So you just gotta kind of have a bit of both in your base to kind of cover your bases. So that's about all I had to show you today. Obviously you can customize these traps to, be even more deadly. Let us know in the comments, like, if you use this type of trap and if you've got ideas on how to make it even more deadly. I'd love to hear. But yeah, that's all I got for today. Thanks everyone for joining. If you like this kind of content, consider liking and subscribing. Really helps us out, and we'll see you in the next one.